Hello to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of Jim's 5am Club. I'm up here on the International Passenger Terminal. I'm in the city. I finished work early, but I have an appointment, a dental appointment for 2 p.m, so I'm just biding my time at the moment. It's a bit windy up here, so I may need to go downstairs just to relieve some of the buffeting of this wind. But as you can see, it's a magnificent view from up here. 360 degrees. We've got the Harbour Bridge, the Opera House, and the city there in the distance. So what I want to do today is do a bit of a walk and talk and take you through a book summary. A very interesting and controversial sort of book summary today. And the title of the book is called The Ugly Truth. The Ugly Truth by an author named Sheera Frankel. Sheera Frankel. And this book, I guess, is quite timely, or this book review that I'm doing today is quite timely, because it talks about misinformation, it talks about social media, and it puts that whole platform and what's happening at the moment, what we're seeing at the moment on the internet, on social media, with misinformation, disinformation, riding roughshod over health advice. And it gives us an opportunity to understand what is happening, what is going on, because the author here says that the root of disinformation lies in technology. And he suggests, or she suggests, or they suggest, that Facebook was designed from the very beginning to throw gas on fire on subjects that invoke emotion. It's algorithms which allow us to connect with trending stories, with trending sort of commentary, favours sensationalism. And we know it for sure and for certain. If you post something which is fairly conservative and mundane and doesn't invoke much emotion because it's accepted, you don't get much of a response. Whereas the things that seem to take off and catch fire and stimulate discussion and likes and commentary are the things which are sensationalized. And what we have now is we've got a new breed of person, in our social circles, in our families, who just thrive on sensationalizing everything, politicizing every message to take advantage and to leverage off the algorithms of Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, to make a name for themselves, to have their voices heard, even if their voices are putting forth disinformation and misinformation. They don't care, because social media, popularity on social media is very similar to a drug. And once you get the taste of infamy and the likes, and you're getting people supporting you who have similar sort of views, then there's no end to the cycle. Interestingly enough, there are 3 billion connected and active users on Facebook. That's a massive audience that commentators, influencers, and other people have at tapping into and influencing. And as we said, Facebook is a technology that favours sensationalism, and for that reason alone, and as a lot of people say, that social media isn't reality, but it is a platform that allows a few very, very passionate, very, very vocal individuals to make a massive impact, so much so that it can sway public opinion, it can determine the outcome of elections. So what is it about Facebook, what is it about social media that make it different, make it special, make it unique, and make it manipulative? The author here goes on to say that as a social platform, political news media took advantage of it. So media groups, journalists, activists leveraged social media because it reaches further than traditional news channels. Because of groups, because of the structure of social media, you're able to, you're able to tap into communities of collective interest that will then can enable influencers to make a massive impact, regardless of whether or not what they're saying is correct or incorrect. With social media, it can be made to look correct and accurate and valid by producing a video, a professional video, or by claiming that you're a doctor or claiming that you're an expert, because people don't have the time to be able to check on whether or not it's right or it's wrong. They take it at face value. And for that reason, and for that reason alone, social media has done a disservice to communities on the one hand, but on the other hand, with people who are using it, for a proper reason, it can also be something which creates value as well. So as we mentioned before, social media reaches further and deeper into communities than traditional news channels. And as we said before, the key feature of social media is trending topics, to suck people in and to influence public opinion, to make something of nothing and to make it a trending opinion is an art form. But the spin doctors, the marketing scientists, the experts are able, as we said before, to use this platform to manipulate and to get into the nooks and crannies and create a lot of damage, which seems to be the way it's heading at the moment. The second formal point to come out of this book is that Facebook is a gold data mine. It's the new oil, because through social media, through Facebook, all of the information, all of the postings, all of the likes give the various channels a tremendous amount of insight into what makes people tick, what makes communities tick, and this data, this information is really, really important and something which is really useful, because it allows organisations to springboard off this data and information to be able to market, to sell their products, and also to influence views globally with one successful campaign, so to speak. So Facebook, this is interesting. Facebook introduced the like button in 2009 in order to understand what people prefer. And it's so powerful. Knowing what people like is such an important and tool for marketing, for promotion, to leverage opinion. And it's a real sort of, godsend to marketing people and to people who are savvy with these sorts of technologies. I guess the big challenge going forward is that these social media platforms also have the power to silence certain voices. And the big question now is whether or not the silencing of certain people is an advantage or a disadvantage, especially when one considers freedom of speech and also considers and thinks about the way in which social media can be used to manipulate political outcomes, social outcomes, which may not be equitable to all communities. In case you weren't aware, Facebook owns Instagram and WhatsApp, and it also is actively involved with censoring certain views. But what I find really amazing is that with COVID-19 over the past year, there was a lot of misinformation, a lot of anti-vax sentiment that was allowed to flow and to flow freely, and really impacted initially, especially in the initial stages, the vaccination rollouts, and almost went counter to the health orders and the government requirements in terms of shutting societies or communities down to protect them. And they had to fight and to try and counter the anti-vaccine sentiment, which, as we know now, is only a very, very small, tiny, insignificant community. But the way they manipulated and used these platforms is an eye-opener, an absolute eye-opener. So I guess we'll wait and see where things are heading with social media. I know a lot of people that I know who were once very savvy social media users have gone quiet on social media. I no longer get the same number of likes and engagement from my social media accounts that I once used to get. And I'm sure that others have similar sort of challenges. No, unless you're putting up photos of a dish, a dessert, or a bikini photo on a beach, then you don't get very much action anymore in terms of engagement. Unless, of course, what you're putting up is sensationalist, political sort of information. And as I said before, the anti-vaxxers have used this to their temporary advantage in the beginning. But the good thing is that they've been found out now to be fakes, to be hollow with their claims. And thank God, Australia is looking like it may end up being one of the most successful and most vaccinated countries in the world. And hopefully we can lead ourselves out of this pandemic and generate a society that is tolerant and can work at dealing with any problems that come our way. I really feel for the politicians. I feel for the Prime Minister, the premiers, the health premiers, the health advice, the scientists, who were stating the bleeding obvious, and yet had people shutting them down or trying to shut them down by claiming false, misleading, misinformation, disinformation, leveraging Facebook platforms left, right and centre. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club. I really enjoyed delivering this edition of The Ugly Truth by Sheera Frankel, and hopefully we can use this and at least be more aware of the challenges that we probably will face going forward, because social media, internet, social media platforms in general tend to favour sensationalism, and creating sensationalism all the time, creating drama, may cater for the drama queens, but what it does is it creates anxiety, fear, uncertainty and doubt, and is something which is most unwelcome in this world. And it's something that we've learnt from this past 18 months with the coronavirus, bringing it to a forefront, or to the fore. Take care everybody, yasas, and we'll chat again. Bye for now.